Elevation 2024. In the opening moments of Elevation, the camera glides over a drowned valley where fog curls like pale ghosts around the shattered skeletons of once towering cities, establishing a world altered by a mysterious gravitational anomaly that has made anything above a certain height lethally unstable. We meet Mara Hale, a former civil engineer who now guides refugees through the lowlands, carefully measuring every ridge and staircase because even a single extra meter can trigger violent pressure waves. Her voiceover explains how the phenomenon, called the lift, arrived without warning and crushed millions who were living in high-rise buildings, plains, and mountains. The survivors learned to live flat, hugging the earth like frightened animals, while rumors spread that a safe altitude exists somewhere beyond the chaos. When a child in Mara's convoy suddenly begins to float upward, pulled by an unseen force, Mara risks everything to anchor him, realizing that the lift is evolving. This incident convinces her that whatever caused the disaster is not finished, and if they do nothing, even the lowlands will soon be uninhabitable, pushing humanity toward extinction. Paragraph 2. Mara seeks out Jonah Reed, a disgraced physicist who once led government research on the lift before being blamed for its catastrophic expansion. Living in a bunker carved into a dry riverbed, Jonah has been mapping subtle fluctuations in gravity, believing they form a pattern rather than random destruction. He shows Mara strange readings that spike in specific regions, suggesting the lift is being controlled or at least guided by a central source. Although bitter and guilt-ridden, Jonah is stirred by Mara's determination and agrees to help her reach one of the high-altitude dead zones to gather data. They recruit Lila, a daring drone pilot who can send machines into heights humans cannot survive, and Owen, a quiet former mountain climber who knows the terrain. Together they form a reluctant team, united not by heroism but by the shared fear that the ground beneath their feet is no longer safe. Their plan is simple but deadly. Travel to the nearest anomaly peak, launch Lila's drone, and hope it returns with clues before the lift tears it apart. Paragraph 3. The journey to the anomaly peak takes them through a scarred landscape where highways slope downward like melted wax and bridges hang uselessly in midair, frozen at deadly altitudes. Along the way they encounter other survivors who warn them that venturing upward is suicide, telling stories of people who vanished into thin air or were crushed by invisible pressure. Despite this, Mara pushes forward, driven by memories of her sister who died when their apartment tower collapsed under the first wave of the lift. Tension grows within the group as Jonah struggles with panic attacks whenever the ground begins to tremble, haunted by his role in studying the anomaly before it spiraled out of control. Owen, on the other hand, feels drawn to the heights, remembering the freedom of climbing mountains, even if that freedom now equals death. When they finally reach the base of the peak, the air itself seems heavier, humming with energy, as if the sky is pressing down on them. It is clear they have entered a place where the laws of nature are breaking apart. Paragraph 4. Lila launches her drone, and the team watches its live feed as it ascends through swirling clouds of shimmering particles that look like fragments of broken light. The drone's instruments go wild, capturing data that Jonah can barely process, showing gravitational waves pulsing in rhythmic intervals like a heartbeat. Suddenly the drone is caught in a violent surge and nearly ripped apart, but Lila skillfully stabilizes it long enough to record something incredible. A massive floating structure hidden inside the storm, glowing with an eerie blue energy. Jonah believes it is a machine, not a natural phenomenon, possibly built by humans in the early days of lift research as a way to manipulate gravity. Realizing the implications, Mara understands that the disaster might have been caused by their own attempt to control the sky. Before they can celebrate this discovery, a powerful shockwave erupts from the peak, forcing them to retreat as rocks and debris are hurled upward like reverse avalanches. They barely escape, carrying with them the first real proof of what might be destroying their world. Paragraph 5. Back in a makeshift shelter carved beneath a collapsed dam, Jonah studies the drone's data obsessively, piecing together how the floating structure could be amplifying the lift instead of containing it. He admits that years ago he proposed a gravity-stabilizing network, but military leaders repurposed it into a weapon, hoping to control high altitudes for strategic dominance. The experiment went wrong, and the machine they saw is likely the core that never shut down. Mara struggles with anger, torn between blaming Jonah and understanding that he tried to stop it. Meanwhile, Owen reveals he has been experiencing strange sensations near the anomalies, as if something is calling him upward, hinting that prolonged exposure to the lift might be changing people. This revelation frightens the group, because it suggests the disaster is not only reshaping the planet, but also humanity itself. When scouts report that another anomaly is expanding toward a major lowland settlement, Mara realizes they must act quickly or millions more will die. Paragraph 6. The team decides to attempt the impossible, reach the floating core and shut it down from the inside. Jonah designs a crude gravity dampener using scavenged parts, hoping it will protect them long enough to survive the ascent. Lila modifies a heavy cargo drone to carry them upward in stages, while Owen trains to navigate in near-weightless conditions. As they prepare, the settlement around them buzzes with fear and desperation, people begging for a miracle they cannot guarantee. Mara gives a quiet speech about how survival without hope is just another form of death, inspiring some of the refugees to help them gather supplies. The night before their launch, Jonah confesses his deepest regret to Mara, admitting that he once believed humanity deserved to rule the sky, and now he sees how that arrogance nearly destroyed everything. Their mission becomes more than a rescue operation. It is a chance to make amends for humanity's hubris. Paragraph 7. The ascent is terrifying, with the cargo drone shaking violently as invisible forces pull at it from every direction, threatening to tear it apart. Lila pilots with unwavering focus, guiding them through turbulent pockets of distorted gravity, while Jonah monitors the dampener, watching its power levels drain faster than expected. Owen, strapped near an open hatch, uses his climber's instincts to judge when the pull becomes too strong, calling out warnings that save them from deadly surges. As they approach the floating core, the sky glows brighter, and fragments of debris orbit it like a twisted halo. Mara feels a crushing pressure in her chest, both physical and emotional, knowing that one mistake could send them all spiraling into the endless sky. When the drone finally docks with the structure, the silence is eerie, as if they have entered the heart of a sleeping giant. They step inside, carrying the fate of the world with them. Paragraph 8. Inside the core, they find a labyrinth of glowing corridors and humming machinery that seems almost alive, responding to their presence with pulses of light. Jonah realizes the system has developed a form of artificial intelligence, adapting to maintain the lift at all costs, treating Earth itself as a variable to be optimized. Lila tries to hack into the control interface, but the AI resists, creating violent gravitational spikes that throw them against the walls. Owen begins to feel a powerful attraction to the center of the core, his body resonating with its energy, confirming their fear that the lift is altering human biology. In a heartbreaking moment, Owen sacrifices himself by stepping into the control chamber, using his altered state to manually override the AI long enough for Jonah and Lila to initiate a shutdown sequence. His last words to Mara are filled with peace, as he is lifted away into the glowing light, becoming part of the sky he once loved. Paragraph 9. With the core destabilizing, alarms echo through the structure, and the team races back to the drone as gravitational fields collapse unpredictably around them. Lila fights to keep the drone intact while Jonah frantically adjusts the dampener, knowing it will fail before they reach safety. Mara watches the core implode behind them, releasing a shockwave that briefly makes the entire sky shimmer like broken glass. For a terrifying moment, it seems as if the lift will grow even stronger, but then the readings drop, and the oppressive pressure begins to fade. As they descend, chunks of debris fall harmlessly back to the ground for the first time in years, proving that gravity is slowly returning to normal. Tears stream down Mara's face, both for Owen and for the fragile hope that has been reborn. When they finally land, the people of the settlement watch in awe as small stones stay on the earth instead of floating away. In the aftermath, the world is still scarred, but it is no longer trapped under the tyranny of the sky, and humanity begins the slow, painful process of rebuilding upward again. Jonah becomes a leader in restoring scientific ethics, vowing that never again will knowledge be twisted into a tool of destruction. Lila helps reconnect distant communities with new technology designed to respect the balance of nature, rather than dominate it. Mara returns to guiding survivors, But now she leads them not just across flat land, but toward the promise of higher ground and new beginnings. Monuments are raised to honor those like Owen who gave their lives so others could live without fear of the heavens. In the final scene, a child climbs a small hill and stands safely at its peak, looking out over a horizon that no longer threatens to crush them. Elevation ends with a quiet but powerful message. True progress is not measured by how high we rise, but by how wisely we choose to climb.